The next two viruses we're going to discuss are going to be two viruses that are transmitted via vectors, okay? So in terms of the vector, what we're talking about in this case is going to be an insect, specifically a mosquito, all right? And those two viruses we're going to talk about are going to be the dengue virus, and one that's been in the news an awful lot here lately, the Zika virus, okay? Both the dengue and the Zika virus are transmitted via mosquitoes, okay? And in terms of the mode of transmission, what we're talking about is if we have our person here, and this is going to be our mosquito. Do not make fun of my art. Okay? The mosquito bites the person, and then typically there's an incubation period of 4 to 7 days, give or take. Okay? And then we'll put the person laying down in bed here. They're going to exhibit signs of the symptoms. All right. So in terms of the viruses, there's not currently treatments for either dengue or the Zika virus. Okay. Really, as far as treatment, we're talking about palliative care. Okay. And that involves staying hydrated, rest, okay? Always important. And in terms of that, there can be blood transfusions that are needed, although those are typically extreme cases, okay? And then as far as pain relief, things like Tylenol, Advil can be given also, all right? One of the key things with either the dengue virus or the Zika virus, you want to avoid aspirin, okay? And in terms of that, what the aspirin does is it essentially interferes with the body's ability to get rid of the virus. At least that's my understanding of it. But in terms of that, palliative care, hydration, rest, there can be needs for blood transfusion in some cases of dengue virus, but that's really rare. And then pain relief, all right? And in terms of transmission, all right? Oh, I left off the O with my mosquito. There you go. That sick person is not going to be able to pass on that virus to another person, okay? The only way it can be transmitted is via a mosquito bite, all right? Now, in terms of this is biology, so there are some exceptions. There is a case that you may have seen in the news of sexual transmission of the Zika virus, all right? It's rare that viruses can be transmitted via vector and sexual transmission, but it's not completely unheard of because the Ebola virus, while typically it's transmitted via blood products, if a person survives the Ebola virus and they recover, if they're male, what they've found is up to as long as a year, sometimes 2 years, there can be active virus present in the semen, okay? And in terms of that, that's what they're kind of seeing also with the Zika virus. Men who are infected with the Zika virus, there may be a low level of the virus that is maintained within the semen. So in terms of that transmission, it's going to either be male to female or male to male, okay? it's not looking like if a female recovers from the Zika virus, she can transmit it to a male partner or a female partner, okay? It's going to go just in that direction, and it's somehow associated with the virus surviving within the semen. And the weird part is the Ebola virus also shows that characteristic, okay? Now, in terms of the difference between dengue and Zika, all right, dengue is unpleasant. The person is sick for a couple weeks. They don't feel well, but they typically recover, okay? With the Zika virus, again, as an adult, you get sick, you don't feel well, you typically recover. What's unique about the Zika virus is women who are pregnant, okay? Because they are showing a link, potentially. They haven't verified it, but it looks like there's a link between the Zika virus and microcephaly. All right? Micro translate to small. Cephaly has to do with the head. So there are infants being born from women who have been bitten by mosquitoes with the Zika virus. They've gotten sick. Their infants are born with a very small head. All right. There are some other defects that are also starting to come out associated with that. And in terms of that, where this comes into play as far as control goes, all right, it's going to be control of the mosquito population, all right? So in terms of that, spraying for mosquitoes, making sure there's not any standing water around, those kinds of things are going to help eliminate the Zika virus within the population, all right? It's been in and around since, or at least initially identified in the late 1940s, okay? But because of probably certain climate conditions being amenable to larger mosquito populations, okay, we are seeing an uprise in things like the Zika virus, all right? And now we're seeing that link between the virus and pregnancy and microcephaly in infants, right? So in terms of that, there's a lot out there associated with the Zika virus. If you all want to discuss this more, I would highly recommend taking this to the discussion board in the Blackboard shell. And if you have additional questions about the Zika virus in particular, I kind of want to see you post them there to the discussion board. If you have questions about other viruses, go ahead and post those there too, because I think that'll be kind of neat to see how that plays out, okay? If you have any questions, please let me know. And thank you for